shall we do our top movies of 1996, which...
Let's do exactly that. Yeah, great year.
So sadly for me, The Frighteners has fallen out of my top 10, but it did not fall out of my top 20. So I'll run through my honorable mentions very quickly. I have Kids in the Hall Brain Candy, which I was disappointed in when I was obsessed with Kids in the Hall. And then I saw that movie and I did not get it at all in the theater. And I've rewatched it since, and I'm like, I was not old enough to watch Kids in the Hall Brain Candy. Basquiat, which was Jeffrey Wright's big breakout. Twister, which is just perfectly enjoyable. The Birdcage, you can't go wrong. You absolutely can't go wrong with a Mike Nichols movie. And that one has Robin Williams and Gene Hackman, rest in peace to both of them. The first Mission Impossible, I think now I can say, if not my favorite, one of my favorite Brian, like up at the top Brian De Palma movies. Mm-hmm. Bottle Rocket, Wes Anderson's debut film. Citizen Ruth, which was Alexander Payne's debut film. We had a lot of good debuts. The Frighteners, Trainspotting, which was that Danny Boyle's debut film?
No, he had done a film before that called Shallow Grave. Okay. It didn't really make a dent in America, but I remember seeing it once I saw Trainspotting. So yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, and then Grey's Anatomy, which we talked about on the Steven Soderbergh podcast, which is less a movie and more of a sit-down comedy special starring Spalding Gray. But it's great, and it's actually much more cinematic than most of his sit-down comedy specials. Mm-hmm. His monologues. Okay, so then my number 10 is Albert Brooks's Mother, where he plays a frustrated writer whose mother is played by Debbie Reynolds, and she's annoying. And that's the entire movie. It's great. My number 9 is Disney Animation Studios' weirdest movie by far, The Hunchback of Notre Dame. This movie is so horny, which is not something you say about a Disney animated movie, but this one really is.
Yep.
My number 8 is Tom Hanks's That Thing You Do, a very enjoyable movie about a song that is not as good as the movie tells you it is, but it's pretty catchy.
I love it.
My number 7 is Henry Selick's James and the Giant Peach. Henry Selick is the unsung director of The Nightmare Before Christmas. Everyone thinks Tim Burton directed that. He did not. He produced it. Henry Selick is the king of, the undisputed, if you ask me, king of stop motion animation. James and the Giant Peach is awesome.
Yep.
My number 6 is Paul Thomas Anderson's perhaps debut movie, I think, Hard 8.
Yep.
Love this movie. So the reason you see this movie is because you love Philip Baker Hall, and he's the star, and he gets to do a lot of cool stuff. John C. Reilly plays a dope, which is what he's the best at doing. Gwyneth Paltrow is like a very fragile Las Vegas type.
Yep.
And it has a crazy one scene tour de force by Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Paul Thomas Anderson talking about like the title of that movie should be Sydney, which is Philip Baker Hall's character's name. Like he hates the title Hard 8. I think that was forced on him by the studio. He refers to it as Sydney.
It's totally Philip Baker Hall's movie. My number, what am I on? 5 is, I think, maybe the only Michael Bay movie that I like, and it's The Rock, starring Sean Connery and Nicolas Cage, and an amazing villainous turn by Ed Harris, who then you find out later is not actually the bad guy.
Right. He's so great. I love Ed Harris. I feel like he's underappreciated these days.
I could not agree more. We were just talking about him because we were talking about A History of Violence. He's so great in that too.
Yep.
My number 4 is Mike Judge's Beavis and Butthead Do America. But this is so fun. And like Bruce Willis and Demi Moore do voices for this movie, and that was a huge deal at the time. Mm-hmm. My number 3 is Sling Blade. That really shot up. Mm-hmm. My number 2 is Fargo by the Coen brothers. If you're listening to this podcast, you know what Fargo is.
Yeah.
My number 1 is a movie I've talked about a lot. It's Herb Gardner's I'm Not Rappaport, starring Walter Matthau and Ozzie Davis. It's kind of like a play on film. A lot of the movie is just the two of them sitting on a bench in the park arguing with each other, and then they become friends. And I just love movies about old dudes who hate each other and love each other. And in the first Grumpy Old Men, Ozzie Davis is the third grumpy old man, and then Burgess Meredith is the fourth, but Ozzie Davis is a character has to die in every Grumpy Old Man movie because it's about old men.
Yep. And
so sadly we lose Ozzie Davis' character in the first one. He doesn't come back for the second one, but they made I'm Not Rappaport, which I actually think is better than both Grumpy Old Men movies.
Interesting.
It has a lot more heart. All right, you're up.
All right. Boy, 96 was actually a really good year. And this was one of the years I really started getting serious about film and everything. So I remember it very fondly. I actually have some interesting honorable mentions here. I mentioned A Time to Kill earlier. McConaughey's breakout role, Citizen Ruth, like you mentioned, The Birdcage. They're all honorables for me. Swingers came out in 96 as well. And that's an honorable a little further down my list.
Let me ask you a question about Swingers, because this came up because Annie and I recently watched Nona's, Vince Vaughn's new movie on Netflix, which is fine. Some really cool cameos in it. And she was like, Vince Vaughn is the weirdest looking man ever. And I was like, I think people thought he was hot in Swingers. And she goes, no.
People did, though. Yeah,
I think so.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Sleepers, the Barry Levinson's film. We talked about when we did Diner. Beavis and Butthead Do Americas in my honorables. A movie I'm surprised to not see on your list, Matilda.
I like the musical better than the original.
Interesting. Okay. That's right. I have Jim Jarmusch's Dead Man.
Really want to see that.
Oh, I remember it being great. I mean, I'm not so into Johnny Depp now, but I just actually discovered that movie because Neil Young did the score for it, and it's just all this like chunky guitar music and organ stuff. Like, I mean, there's no vocals or anything either, but I've had the soundtrack probably before I saw the movie. But then the movie is pretty cool. I think you'd like it. I have Henry Selick's James and the Giant Peach. Tom Hanks is That Thing You Do, like you mentioned. Farrelly Brothers Kingpin is in my honorable mentions. By far my favorite Farrelly Brothers movie.
I don't like it.
You know, like Kingpin? I love.
I know I'm a weirdo. I don't like it.
Yeah, that's like I said, that's my favorite one. I like it more than Dumb and Dumber or Something About Mary or any of those.
Dumb and Dumber is the hardest I've ever laughed in a movie theater. I mean,
Yeah.
granted, I was like 8, but I remember just like crying in that theater.
I saw it twice at the theater, I remember too, and laughing my ass off, but I can't watch it now. Todd Solondz' Welcome to the Dollhouse, another indie, big indie hit there. Richard Gere and Edward Norton in Primal Fear. That was Edward Norton's big breakout role, got an Oscar nomination for that. And Trainspotting, Danny Boyle's film, like you mentioned. So that brings me up to my actual top 10. I have also Disney's horniest film, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, at number 10. I didn't see this when it first came out. I was like 14, 15, getting into movies and stuff. So like, there's no reason for me to see that. So I didn't watch it until, my daughter wanted to watch it, when she was younger. And I'm watching like, oh my gosh, yeah, this is horny and dark and weird. And I really like it. It's really good, but it really shocked me the first time I saw it. Scott Hicks' film Shine, number 9. This was kind of Jeffrey Rush's introduction to America. He won his Oscar for that. Plays the pianist David Helfgott. Number 8, I have another big indie hit. This is a big indie year. A lot of the Oscars were dominated by indie movies too. I have Mike Leigh's Secrets and Lies. This is a really interesting movie about adoption, and Brenda Blethyn is great in it. Marianne Jean-Baptiste is in it, as she is in many Mike Leigh movies, and it's very, very good. My number 7, Lars von Trier's Breaking the Waves. I don't love a lot of Lars von Trier movies, but I do really like this one. It's got Emily Watson. She is married to Stellan Skarsgård, who gets injured. He's like an oil rig worker or something. He gets injured and is paralyzed, can no longer have sexual relations with his wife, so he asks her to go out and do this with other men and then come back and tell it to him and describe it to him. And, it's very weird von Trier, but like I said, it's one of his that actually works for me.
Did you know that Lars von Trier has never been to the United States?
That tracks, yeah.
He's such a weirdo.
He is the weird.
I mean, he thinks he's Hitler, so there's that.
Yeah, that's a whole separate podcast, just to talk about all the weird Lars von Trier things.
Mm-hmm.
Number 6, Milos Forman's People vs. Larry Flint, starring Woody Harrelson in a great performance as Larry Flint. Courtney Love is also excellent in this movie. Edward Norton is in that movie as well. So good year for Edward Norton. He was also in, that I haven't seen, but he was in Woody Allen's Everyone Says I Love You.
That's one we haven't gotten to yet.
Yeah, so that one, those 3 movies all came out like right within a couple of months of each other. So that was a big year for Edward Norton. People vs. Larry Flint is pretty great. Milos Forman, has had a number of excellent films in his career. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Amadeus, and Man on the Moon. So yeah, he's solid, reliable.
I was going to ask, but now it's clearly the Forman connection. I was like, Courtney Love has only been in biopics.
Yeah, yep. And her career, certainly didn't take it. A lot of people, again, were predicting like, oh man, if she can keep her head on straight, after like People vs. Larry Flint, it didn't happen.
She can.
But she's really great in it. Like in People vs. Larry Flint, she's excellent.
She's good at Man on the Moon. She's just a strange person.
Yeah. All right, now we're into the big ones. The top 5, I have a movie we talked about quite a bit. I have Lone Star as my number 5. Number 4, I have Sling Blade, again, which we talked about quite a bit. Number 3, I don't normally do this. I tend to keep my documentaries separate, but since I haven't seen, I've only seen one documentary from 1996, I felt appropriate to include on this list. It's the West Memphis 3 documentary, Paradise Lost. The very first one is kind of a landmark documentary, and really for anyone interested in documentary film, I would suggest that this one should be fairly high on the list. It also spawned a couple of sequels. There's 2 like direct sequels, Paradise Lost 2 and 3, and then there's another one called West of Memphis that I believe Peter Jackson was involved in as like an executive producer or something like that. So there's certainly a lot of information out about that story. My number 2 is a film that I think gets derided quite a bit because of the Seinfeld episode when it came out in the 90s, but I have The English Patient as my number 2. I really think it's a great movie. There's great performances up and down. Ralph Fiennes, Kristen Scott Thomas, Juliet Binoche, Willem Dafoe.
Sorry, the star of that movie, you said his name weird. I believe it's pronounced Twizzleton.
Lord Twizzleton, yes.
Yeah.
Twizzleton stars, and it was his last Oscar nomination to date. Before he got the one for Conclave, was his last Oscar nomination.
Wow, he wasn't nominated for Grand Budapest?
He was not. No, isn't that crazy?
Crazy.
That was a stacked year. Like if you look at, I remember looking at the list from that year. I was like, all right, there's a lot of strong contenders that year. But yeah, I think people thought he was going to get one for that.
That movie's so good.
And the movie got nine other nominations, maybe, or eight, maybe. So it was like well nominated. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the only time Wes Anderson's ever been nominated.
As a director, yes. But he's got a bunch of screenplay nominations. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the short one, of course, that he just won. Anyway, yeah, English Patient is my number 2. It's a really beautiful movie. And then my number 1, as we've talked about many, many times, one of my all-time favorite movies, and a big time formative movie when I was getting into movies, is the Coen Brothers' Fargo, which I think is absolutely perfect.
It's great. I can't believe you haven't watched the show.
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't. I feel like I would like it. So.
It's so good. It's I mean, at least half of it is so good. You know, it's an anthology show, so each season is a totally different story. Seasons 1 and 2 are out of this world. Season 3 is pretty solid. I heard season 4 is not very good, and then season 5 is supposed to be great. I haven't seen it. It's the John Hamm season. But we're watching Your Friends and Neighbors, and I'm really liking John Hamm in it, so I'll probably go back and watch that.
Yeah, Megan loves John Hamm. Mad Men is her favorite show ever, so usually we watch John Hamm stuff.
That's a good show.